At first glance, the neighborhood seemed flawless. Manicured lawns, freshly painted fences, and a community that boasted harmony under the watch of its powerful HOA board. At the center of it all was the president, a figure admired for charm, but feared for authority. Residents trusted her with their monthly dues, believing every dollar served the community's betterment. Yet beneath the perfect exterior, whispers began. Receipts didn't match repairs, projects stalled, and money seemed to vanish into thin air. What started as doubt soon grew into suspicion, setting the stage for a scandal no one expected. It began with small things. Playground renovation delayed without reason. The community pool closed for months, despite funds already collected. Homeowners grew restless, questioning why dues kept rising while improvements stalled. Meanwhile, the president flaunted a new luxury car and lavish vacations, all displayed proudly on social media. Residents dismissed it as coincidence until a treasurer quietly raised concerns. Financial statements looked altered, with numbers too neat, too precise. The whispers turned into late-night discussions over fences, and the HOA's polished image began to crumble. The seeds of confrontation were quietly taking root. One resident decided to dig deeper. After weeks of combing through public records and HOA filings, discrepancies became undeniable. Vendor names were fake, invoices forged, and expenses red-flagged. Thousands of dollars marked as maintenance had no real trail. The most shocking discovery? Payments routed directly into the president's personal accounts. The evidence was undeniable, yet the fear of retaliation kept many silent. The neighborhood now faced a dangerous truth. Their trusted leader was just careless. She was exploiting them. Tension simmered, waiting for the moment the community could no longer look the other way. Word spread quickly, and the atmosphere shifted. Neighbors who once avoided conflict began to speak up. Meetings turned chaotic, filled with accusations and denials. The president dismissed complaints as baseless, claiming residents misunderstood the complexities of HOA management. But the growing evidence couldn't be ignored. People demanded transparency, demanding to see the full financial books. The louder the demands, the angrier the president grew. Her control, once absolute, now wavered under scrutiny. For the first time, residents felt the balance of power shifting, and whispers turned into open defiance. The rebellion was officially underway. The president fought back. Residents who challenged her received violation notices for petty reasons. Trash cans left out too long, grass an inch too high, decorations deemed unsuitable. Fear tactics spread. But instead of silencing the neighborhood, it fueled more resistance. The community saw through the charade. Social media groups buzzed with screenshots, leaked receipts, and stories of intimidation. The more she retaliated, the more people united. What was once quiet compliance turned into organized action. The board, once her shield, now faced pressure from every side. The walls were closing in, and she knew it. The next HOA meeting drew a record crowd. Neighbors packed the room, some standing in the hall, demanding answers. Armed with evidence, the treasurer finally broke ranks, exposing the paper trail. Gasps filled the room as forged documents and luxury purchases were revealed. The president's face hardened, denying everything, blaming others, even accusing residents of conspiracy. But her words no longer held weight. The crowd, once loyal, turned hostile, demanding her resignation. The air grew heavy with anger and disbelief, the community standing united. It was no longer whispers, it was an open war for accountability. Within days, petitions circulated. Enough signatures were gathered to call for an emergency vote. The board fractured, with members resigning to save their reputations. The president clung desperately to her position, but her allies dwindled by the hour. Bank accounts were frozen, and legal authorities were alerted. Rumors of criminal charges swirled as residents prepared to take back control. The once untouchable leader was now cornered, her influence crumbling as fast as it had risen. The neighborhood watched closely, waiting for the final blow that would end the reign of corruption once and for all. The vote was swift, the outcome decisive. The president was removed, escorted out of the very community she had ruled for years. Investigators seized records, uncovering the full scope of her embezzlement. As legal battles loomed, residents finally felt a sense of relief. Slowly, the neighborhood began to heal. New leadership promised transparency, restoring trust through accountability. The manicured lawns and quiet streets returned, but this time with a deeper bond among neighbors who had stood together against corruption. The HOA president had fallen, but the story left a lasting reminder. Power unchecked always comes with a price.